Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to show you how to basically kill the frog when it's hit by a car. So let me show you what I've got and what we are going to do. So this will be a generic, so frog has a generic animation, so when it dies, it actually has two different animation when it dies. We have one animation when it's hit by a car, and we have another animation when it drowns in the river. So right now we are going only to implement when it's hit by a car, which is basically this that you just saw. So the frog is hit by a car, plays the death animation, and will reset the frog to the beginning. So the first thing is to that I did was in adding the die animation. So you can see it here. This animation has 4 frames, and let me show you. So I created the animation, the frames in the Pisco, like all the other ones, and you can see it here. So I have this animation frog die, which was the image that I exported from Pisco with 4 different frames, and I imported the image to Stencyl, and when I imported the frame, so I said that the image had 4 columns. And I realized one thing. In one of the first videos when I was importing the frog, I said that I didn't know what was happening because I had to like scale the image a lot when I was importing here. And what happens is that by default, the scale here, when you are importing the image, the scale is at 4 times. So if when you import an image, if you leave it at 4 times, so it's going to assume that the image was scaled at 4 times out of the stencil. So when you are importing the image, you are telling, okay, the image that I'm importing is 4 times bigger than it actually I need it to be. So what Stencil does is that it scales the image down 4 times. But even if you change this, it doesn't do anything with the image, and that's what was happening when I was importing the image of the frog with the original size, because I thought, okay, no, it's not 4 times, it's just 1, and I was hoping that the image would adjust itself after I change it, but it doesn't happen. So what you need to do is that when you import the image, you first select 1 time, and then you import the image, and now the image has the correct size. So basically this is it. So the first images that I imported and that I need to scale, that I ended up scaling them outside of Stencil. I didn't need to do it, but that it's what it is. So I imported image, I said it has like 4 columns, and it added the 4 frames. I also unchecked the looping because this animation won't loop, and we needed to only run once, because at the end, when we play this animation, at the end we are going to kill the actor, actually destroy the actor. And another change that I did was the time of each frame. By default, each frame is going to last 100 milliseconds, and in this case the animation was really fast, so I ended up doubling the amount of each frame to 200 milliseconds. I think it looks a little bit better. I don't know if I'm going to change it afterwards, but uh, at this moment I'm going to leave it with these values. So I imported the die animation, I unchecked the looping, I changed the milliseconds, and then, okay, I had the animation. Now what we need to do is to detect the player collision with the cars. So we need to detect the collision between the frog and the cars. So to do this, I added a new behavior. So you can see the actor behaviors. I created a new behavior called player collision, and this is the behavior that's going to deal with the collision with the cars. And I added this behavior to, I added this behavior to the frog. Here on the frog, you can see the behaviors. Now we have the player movement and the player collision. And in the player collision, I went here to the events, and on the collision you have all these options about the collision. So when the actor collides with anything, basically, when the actor collides with a specific actor, an actor of type, member of group, and collisions between type and type, group and group. This is not a specific, this is not according to a specific actor, is between 2 different types or groups. So initially I went with this one, actor of type, and I say, okay, it's the self. So when this actor hits another actor, and when I got the actor type, I thought, okay, no, so each actor is an actor type. I thought that maybe we could add all the actors to an actor type and then use it as a group, but we can't. So you can see that, okay, we have 5 different cars, and each one is an actor type, so we can't use this event. And so I ended up understanding that Stencyl uses something which is collision groups. And collision groups are basically groups that define that you can add actors to these groups, and those groups define which groups collide with each other. So you can say, okay, this group collides with this one, but does not collide with the other one, and this group collides with this, but doesn't collide with the other one, and this group doesn't collide with anything, stuff like that. And so I ended up using that, and so I saw, okay, I added an event, and it was this one when any actor collides with a member of a group. Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, whatever. And choose group, and you can see that we have a lot of groups here. And so I went to see how I could edit these groups and what was the groups that we were using, because I didn't realize we had groups. And if you come here to the frog, for example, on the properties, you come to the properties, and you can choose the group of the frog, and you can see that you already have like a lot of groups. So we go to the edit groups, and this is also on the game settings, which is probably this one. Yes, this one. So settings, groups, and all projects start already with these 5 groups. So you have a group for the actors, which is a default group for the actors when they are created, I think. And you can see that the actors group collide with other actors, and the enemies is a new group that I created. So actors collide within each other. Doodads are basically a group that does not collide with anything. Players, which is a group that's specifically for players, and initially this group was colliding with tiles. In this case, I don't want it to collide with tiles, so I just removed it. Regions also do not collide with anything, and tiles that also probably they were colliding with the actors, but when I disabled on one side, it disabled on the other one. So I ended up using or adding, I'm gonna remove this one, this was a test, but it didn't work, but I'll get to that in a moment. So I ended up adding a new group that I called enemies, where I'm going to add all the enemies, so the cars and probably the snakes or the alligators if we get there. And what I said, okay, so we have the enemies, and the enemies collide with the actors and the players. And I'm creating a new group because we are going to have some other actors, like for example the logs and the turtles that don't actually harm the player. So I needed a different group to add the cars and the snake and the alligator, stuff like that. So I created a new group, enemies collide with the actors and the players. I said that the frog is on the group players, and that each car is on the group enemies. So I did this for all the cars. And now on the player collision, I can say that when self, which is a player that is on the players group, hits an actor of enemies, we can then do what we want to do inside it. And here we have different things. So let's see block by block. So the first one that I'm doing is I'm disabling the behavior player movement. So the frog has 2 different behaviors. So we have the player movement and the player collision. The player movement deals with moving the frog with input from the user. So the first thing that I'm doing is that when the frog collides with one of the cars, or one of the enemies, collides with one of the enemies, I'm disabling the behavior player movement. So the user can no longer control the frog. So I got this disable behavior from the behaviors category. You can see that you can state here on the state, you can enable and disable the behaviors. And basically you set the behavior with the name, which I'm not a fan of, like writing the name of stuff, because if I change the name of the behavior, then I need to remember where I was using it. If I make a mistake writing the name, then it won't work. But I think we don't have any other way to access the behavior and change the actual behavior that we want. At least I think we have here behavior names. So this solves the problem of not making a mistake. I'm not sure if I rename the behavior if it will rename here, but we'll see. So first thing, I disable the player movement. Then I'm pointing the the player again to the top, and this is why am I doing this? Because since we are moving the frog and rotating the frog, if for example if we move the frog one up and rotate to move to the right or to the left, and then the frog is hit by a car, what would happen is that the die animation would play also rotated. So we need to reset the rotation of the image before playing the animation. And this point is from the actor's motion position. Yeah, position. Yes, sorry. It's from the actor's position category. Then I'm switching the animation to the animation die. And the switching animation, I think on the last video where we used the switch animation, I didn't told you guys where I got this block, but it's from the actor's draw category. So you have switch animation to animation something. And in this case, in the frog, the animation I called it die. So I'm doing switch animation to die. And then this is what we need to do afterwards to wait for the animation to stop playing. So what we are doing is that we are playing the animation, and we know that the animation takes 0.8 seconds because it has 4 frames, and each frame has now 200 milliseconds. So the entire animation takes 0.8 seconds, and what we want is that when the actor finishes the animation, we want to kill the actor. So initially, to be honest, initially I tried to do something like this. Like I tried to create a block with a while, and I tried to do something like, okay, if animation is playing, so if we are playing an animation, and I would just return to start a loop to create a loop. But basically this creates an infinite loop, and if you try to do something like this, if you create an infinite loop in Stencyl, it will just crash the game. So you can't do something like this. And from what I saw, the correct way to do something when you want to play an animation and wait for the animation to stop is to actually use this block, which is do after 0.8 seconds, do after some seconds, which comes from the flow time category, do after seconds. And in this case, the time that you input here is the total time of the animation. I ended up putting, once again, I'm writing the actual value of the time, which I don't like to do it. Because, once again, if I add some new frames to the animation, or if I change the animation duration, I have to come back here and adjust the value. But I don't remember, but I think I didn't get a way to get the total duration of the animation. So you can see here, like draw, you have current frame, you have duration of frame, but you don't have duration of animation, which would be a cool block, but probably I'll need to create a function, a custom block to just return the total duration of the animation, which I won't get into that at this moment. So we just input the value, 0.8. And we play the animation, we wait for 0.82 seconds, and afterwards we kill the actor. And I created a new block called spawn player. And why is this? Because we kill the actor that was hit by the car, and we are going to tell the game manager to spawn a new frog. And why we are not doing this here? So the game manager is the one responsible for the game logic, and when we get there, the game manager will also be the one that has how many lives the player has left and stuff like that. So when we tell the game manager, okay, spawn a new frog, if we don't have any more lives, the game manager will tell, okay, it's game over, or it's going to spawn the frog as we are requesting it. So the game manager is the one responsible for this. And where do I got this spawn player? Oh, one thing to notice. Make sure that the blocks that you add need to be inside the do after 0.82 seconds. Because if you add a block here, what we'll end up doing is that it's going to run all these blocks. It's going to run the last block, and after 0.8 seconds, it's going to run what's inside. So you need to add this also inside the block. And on the game manager, I added a new block, so I created a custom block, which I call spawn player. It has no arguments or parameters. And inside, I basically took the block that I had here on when created. I pasted that block here, which creates the frog. And I'm using the spawn player on both places. So when we create the game manager, I'm spawning the play. I'm calling the block spawn player, and also when the player we destroy the frog, we are also calling the spawn player on the game manager. And where I got the spawn player is from the custom category. So you can come to the custom category. You can see the behaviors that you have, which have custom behaviors or custom blocks, not behaviors, custom blocks. And yeah, this is it. I mean, one thing that I'm not very happy doing like this is like we can access custom blocks from any behavior. It seems. I mean, it would make sense for me to access probably custom blocks from behaviors on the same actor, but here I'm just accessing a custom block from the game manager, which has nothing to do with the actor where we are at. But that's the way it works, and it's pretty convenient, as you can see. But I think it might make it a little bit harder to debug when we start having problems, because anyone, and when I say anyone, I mean any actor, can use this block when wherever it wants. So this makes it a little bit more difficult to debug. And this is it. So this is the code to detect the collision, kill the frog, and spawn a new one. So let me just show you again the end result. And just to make sure also if I didn't break anything, because I'm always changing things and I never know. So, okay, we have our frog. Can move the frog, and if we get hit by a car... Oh, and we have this problem. Yeah. I thought that I was missing something. You can see that when the frog plays the animation in front of the car, the animation, the die animation, is like being pushed by the car. And I noticed this at the beginning, and I tried to solve it. And I think I'm using the right way to solve it, but I wasn't able to do it. And the right way to solve it, let me just show you, because this is important. The right way to solve it is to add a specific collision group to the die animation, which is pretty cool actually. If you come here to the frog, so we change the collision group here on the properties of the frog. We said, okay, all the frog is on the player, so the frog will collide with the enemies. That's okay. But then you can come here to the appearance, and you can see that each animation, not the appearance, sorry, on the collision, you can see that you have animations, you can select the animation, and you have the group here. So by default, each animation of the actor has the group, the same group as the actor type, but you can assign a different group for a specific animation, which what I did with the die animation. So I added to this group, and this group does not collide with anything. So I was hoping that, okay, the frog is using the idle or the move animation, gets hit by the car. I change to the die animation, and as soon as I change to the die animation, which is on this group, the collision doesn't happen anymore. And so the car would just keep moving, and the die animation would play in place. But the car is still pushing the actor. I'm not totally sure why. I think it's pushing, and it's because what I showed you on one of the previous videos, where the car would just push the actor, and even if I move the actor from in front of the car, it would just keep moving. So probably just setting the speed. Actually, we can try it. Now that I'm thinking out loud, maybe we can try it. So let's see, player position, because probably the car is like pushing the actor, and it passes the value of the speed to the actor, and so the actor just keeps moving, something like that. So maybe if I come here and just say, okay, set speed 0. Actually, not here. I'm gonna put it here. set speed, x speed to 0. Let's try it. I don't know if it's going to work, but let's see. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to leave it like this. It's not that bad, and then probably I'll just figure it out along the way. Let's just see if it solves the problem. So we have the frog. Let me see. Yes, perfect. Okay, that's exactly it. So it's not related with the collision group, it's related with the speed. So it seems that when an actor pushes another actor, it sets the speed of the actor that is pushing. And even if you take the actor from the stop being pushed by the other one, the speed continues. So you need to reset the speed. So perfect. Yeah, that was exactly what I wanted. And so this is it. So I'll just continue adding some more stuff. So probably the next video I'll start dealing with the logs that appear on the river. And so instantiating the logs, which is basically the same of the cars, and the movement, everything is probably the same. And I'm just going to have to add the behavior to hop onto the logs and have the frog transported by the logs. So we'll see. I'll see you in the next video.